I was going to wait for you to start.
I know.
You're on your game today.
Hmm.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown, the unofficial sumo podcast for official sumo fans. This is Jake.
And this is Ryan, and this is our Hatsu 2025 Banzuke prediction. It's gonna be a fun new Banzuke as we do officially have a brand new Yokozuna in Hoshoryu. So without further ado, let's get right into the Banzuke. So
Yeah, do you think you're going to be able to predict this first rank correctly?
I sure hope so, because for the first time in 3.5 years, it's not going to be just me saying, like, yeah, it's Terunofuji at Yokozuna East. We do have one Yokozuna on the east side, but it is now Hoshoryu. It is no longer Terunofuji, as Terunofuji has retired and Hoshoryu has been promoted up to this rank. So from now on, it's just going to be like, yeah, our sole Yokozuna at Yokozuna East is Hoshoryu. Hopefully, Koto Sakura and Ono Sato can change that here pretty soon. That would be cool. But for now, still got the one Yokozuna, but it is a new Yokozuna.
Hey, real quick though, so Terunofuji retired mid-tournament. Since he retired before they wrote the Banzuke for Haru, that means that he will not be on it, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Because I know in the past when guys have retired, the Banzuke is written within what, a few days, like a week
the
or so?
Wednesday after the tournament ends, so like 3 days.
So the Banzuke is already done by the time we're recording. Certainly by the time we're releasing this one.
Yep.
But because Terunofuji was already for sure done by that day, he's not going to show up as 0015 in March or anything, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, just making sure.
All right. And because we have Hoshoryu being promoted up to Yokozuna and nobody is being promoted up to Ozeki to fill his spot, we're going to be back down to just two Ozeki on our Banzuke. It's going to be Ono Sato and it's going to be Koto Sakura, and they're going to be in that order because Ono Sato had 10 wins compared to Koto Sakura's 5, and that is why he is ahead of Koto Sakura now on the Banzuke. The highest position Ono Sato has ever had. He is second highest on the Banzuke now.
He's never been top Ozeki.
No, because he's only been Ozeki for 2 basho, and he started on the bottom, and then his losses kept him in the bottom of the Ozeki in the last basho. Yep. And Koto Sakura with his 5 wins, he is unfortunately going to be Kadoban for the first time in his Ozeki career. So hopefully he can get those 8 wins he needs to maintain his rank. I'm not going to take that for granted coming up to this basho. I kind of just, with Kirishima, just like, oh yeah, easy 8, he'll be fine. But after Kirishima's drop, I'm a little concerned about Koto Sakura right now, so really hoping he makes a comeback next basho.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll have more news by the preview, but as far as the Banzuke is concerned, the Ozeki just get ordered by how many wins they have.
Yeah.
Easy stuff.
But we are pretty close to a Banzuke crisis if Koto Sakura goes Kadoban.
Well, no, because we would have Hoshoryu and Ono Sato.
We would. I said we wouldn't have one. We'd be close.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. So if Koto Sakura gets demoted in March and Ono Sato has a losing record and we have no new Ozeki candidates, then yes, then we would be like constitutional crisis level of of
say
Banzuke
Ono
disaster.
Sato wins the Yusho next basho, Koto Sakura drops out, then Ono Sato goes back to back in May and Koto Sakura doesn't get the 10 necessary to make it back. Now we have, well, no, then we'd be fine because we have 2 Yokozuna Ozeki. So actually that'd be okay.
So like the ancient rules carved in stone by the gods a million years ago, or however they determine the Banzuke rules. They say that something like that. There always must be one Ozeki at least on each side of the Banzuke.
Yes.
So in the past, when there's only been one Ozeki at a time, the Yokozuna is like technically a Yokozuna Ozeki, which doesn't actually mean anything. It's just written that way, such that there's at least one Ozeki or Yokozuna on each side of the Banzuke.
Yeah, and Yokozuna is technically an Ozeki with like special privileges and name is like with a license pretty much is how it was. So Yokozuna can act as an Ozeki on the Banzuke if necessary. But we're
necessary to whom? Nobody knows. But
the gods from a million years ago who bestowed the laws of the Banzuke upon us.
Grace be upon their names.
Yes, of course.
I don't know how that how Banzuke religion works.
I'll teach you. I'll get you integrated into the ways.
Help me, oh prophet.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Sekiwake rank. I've got Daisho moving from the West Sekiwake rank to the East Sekiwake rank. I had him doing that after the last Basho, but he got jumped by Wakamoto Haru instead. This time, I don't think there's anything that can stop the 11-win Daisho from moving to the top Sekiwake rank. Nobody has a record that would warrant them jumping ahead of him, so pretty safely, Daisho at Sekiwake East. Now, who joins Daisho at the Sekiwake rank is a little less clear. We know that it's either going to be Kirishima or Oho. Both deserve the same rank mathematically, and both were previously on the west side, so there's no real clear tiebreaker there. Both are firmly within the Joy, so neither should get Joy bias over the other.
Yeah, they have basically the same schedule.
Kirishima, Maegashira 1, Oho, Maegashira 3. So it's going to be up to the Banzuke committee on if they want to go with Kirishima's higher rank and jump him up to Sekiwake. Maybe also factor in his previous experience in the Sanyaku ranks to bump him up there. Or if they want to go with the more traditional tiebreaker and go with the Rikishi that had more wins and give that edge to Oho. For me, I'm going to go with the more traditional Banzuke rules, the ones that I'm more able to follow than like, oh, well, Kirishima has experience in Sanyaku. Let's give him the Sekiwake
his technique
rank.
looked better this Basho, or other nebulous things like that.
Yeah. I fully understand this is a complete coin flip, honestly. I'm just going to go with the Rikishi that had more wins, and that is Oho. So I have him making his Sanyaku debut at the rank of Sekiwake West in my prediction.
Do we have enough data to say if we think the playoff will factor in? The fact that he got a Junyu show versus not getting a Junyu show?
The one time that we've really been able to use playoff data was like a Juryo playoff where there were two Juryo Rikishi at the same rank who both had the same record, went into the playoff. The West side won the playoff over the East side. But then on the next Banzuke, the East side guy was still ahead of the West side, even though he defeated him in a playoff. That's the only like playoff we have. It's from Juryo. It's from like
really good
4 or 5 years ago.
That's super good though, because two guys at the exact same rank, you'd think any tiebreaker would cause them to swap places. But if that did not happen, that kind of means that, we only care about your regulation quantity of wins.
Yeah. All right, moving down to Komosubi. Since I have Kirishima just missing out on the Sekiwake rank, that means I have him taking the top Komosubi East spot. There's no one else that can compete with him for the top Komosubi spot. In fact, there's no one left that deserves to be in the Sanyaku ranks at all. Abi and Wakataka Kage both had losing records from the Komosubi rank, and no one else in the Joy got enough wins to warrant them being ranked Komosubi or even Maegashira 1. So how do we fill this open Komosubi West ranking? Are we going to be generous to one of our previous Komosubi, only drop them down a half rank? Or are we going to be generous to a Gonoyama who went 8-7 at Maegashira 3, not 5-7 as the sheet would make you believe?
Done.
There. 8-7.
I was curious why he was blue. 5-7's a losing record.
Yeah.
Also a very strange one, because those don't add up to 15.
Or do we be generous to Chiyoshima, who went 9-6 from Maegashira 5? Looking at the math, Abi is the next Rikishi that deserves to be ranked on this Banzuke. We know that Sanyaku Rikishi get soft demotions when they have a losing record, and I honestly just can't see the Banzuke committee pulling Gonoyama or Chiyoshima ahead of Abi when they both deserve to be ranked lower than him. He's the one that was in Sanyaku the previous Basho. So I have Abi getting a little lucky here and only dropping from Komosubi East to Komosubi West after his 7-8 record. There is precedent of this happening multiple times where a 7-8 Komosubi East only drops over to Komosubi West. So I see no reason that doesn't happen again here.
Sure. Makes sense.
At Maegashira 1, Wakataka Kage is the only Rikishi that deserves the Maegashira 1 rank, so he should very easily land at Maegashira 1 East in March. And honestly, it should be a family reunion at the Maegashira 1 rank, as I've got Wakamoto Haru dropping from Sekiwake to Maegashira 1 West after a 6-9 record. It's actually almost the same exact scenario as last Basho that saw Kirishima drop from Sekiwake to Maegashira 1 after a 6-9 record. There is a Maegashira 3 with an 8-7 record in Gonoyama and a Maegashira 5 with a 9-6 record that deserve the same rank as the falling Sekiwake. This exact situation happened last Banzuke. So even though Wakamoto Haru had the worst record among these three, he should land ahead of them because of his Sanyaku bias. So very easily should have Wakamoto Haru here at Maegashira 1 West.
Should Abi be colored red?
I just have everybody in the Sanyaku ranks blue.
It's a silly system. I'm going to complain about it.
Yeah, go ahead and change them. It makes sense.
No, I don't care.
I care.
Well, now you care, yeah. No.
No, wrong red. That's the wrong shade of red. For everybody listening to the podcast, we're talking about our YouTube visual that goes along with these Banzuke episodes. So sorry for us referencing that if you're listening to the audio-only version of that. Check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, we try to call it out at the beginning of each episode, but like I think that when we're
we've
recording...
done that enough.
We've done it enough, but also like when we're recording with a video call, I often forget that like still the vast majority of people just don't watch it on YouTube. They just watch it the way that or listen to it the way we've always done it, which is...
I don't know. It's pretty close to like 50-50 now.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah. Moving down to Maegashira 2. I've been bringing up Gonoyama and Chiyoshoma's names enough, so let's finally put them on the Banzuke. They're the only two left that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 2, and there really shouldn't be any other factors that would keep them out of this rank. So Gonoyama was previously on the east side, and Chiyoshoma was on the west side. So because of that, I've got Gonoyama rising 1 rank after an 8-7 record to take the Maegashira 2 east ranking, and I have Chiyoshoma rising 3 ranks after his 9-6 record to take the Maegashira 2 west ranking. Maegashira 3, pretty easy. All of our dropping Sanyaku Rikishi have already been handled. Wakamoto Haru, Abi, Wakataka Kage, and the one Rikishi that deserves to be ranked, Maegashira 3, was previously in the Joy, so we don't need to worry about any biases knocking him out of this spot. So I've got Tobizaru dropping 1 rank to Maegashira 3 East following a 7-8 record. After him, there are no more Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 3, and there's only one Rikishi that deserves to be Maegashira 4, and that is Takanosho, who I have dropping 2 ranks from Maegashira 1 to Maegashira 3 West following a 6-9 record. And then moving on to Maegashira 4, this is probably the most difficult spot for me on this Banzuke, maybe until we get to the bottom a little bit. But Maegashira 4, Maegashira 5 is kind of the biggest difficult spot on this Banzuke, and it's not overly difficult. It's just we got to figure out how joy biases are going to work here, and I could very easily be wrong. But it's actually a Banzuke that puts itself together pretty nicely for the most part beyond like these next few ranks. So
this is the toughest part of a Banzuke that isn't necessarily tough the entire way through.
Yeah, that's at least my feeling on it. So we've already placed the last Rikishi that deserves the Maegashira 4 rank, so we have to look to the Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 5, of which there are 4. There are Takayasu, Ura, Ichi Yamamoto, and Keen Bozan.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's got to enter the conversation now, even though he started way down at the bottom.
Yep. But only 3 of them could take the Maegashira 4 East spot, since we would be promoting Ura by a half rank if we were to give him this spot, because he went 7-8 for Maegashira 4 West. So that leaves us with Takayasu, Ichi Yamamoto, and Keen Bozan. All 3 of them are outside of the Joy. 2 of them at Maegashira 6, 1 at Maegashira 14. Each one had at least 2 matchups with Sanyaku Rikishi, so if we're trying to figure out, well, this guy fought some Sanyaku matches even outside of the Joy, maybe he'll have a tiebreaker. Not necessarily. So I think we should just need to worry about standard tiebreakers with these guys. So in my mind, that means Takayasu was the only one on the east side. So I have him rising 2 ranks after an 8-7 record to take the Maegashira 4 East rank. So now that we are at the Maegashira 4 West rank, Ura can enter the conversation. And we've seen Maegashira 4 Rikishi receive joy bias in the past couple of Banzukes. Just last Basho, Chura no Umi and Oshoma did not drop as far as they might have otherwise. I feel like they were considered part of the joy. So since he was in the joy and Ichi Yamamoto and Ki Bozan were outside of the joy, Ura could keep his same rank here. But on the other hand, the Sanyaku ranks are shrinking, which means every rank is technically 1 spot higher in the order than it was on the previous Banzuke, since the Banzuke is going to extend down 1 further rank than it did before. So that means Ura, if he stayed in this place, could be getting a promotion for staying at this rank, because he would be ahead of 27 other Rikishi on this Banzuke as opposed to being ahead of 26 Rikishi like he was back in January.
But we have seen that doesn't matter, correct? In the past, correct?
Yes, we have seen that people with 7 and 8 records have stayed at their previous rank. Yeah, for a technical promotion. They don't seem to care. And also, we live in a world where 6 and 9 Rikishi at the very bottom of the Banzuke can keep their rank and stay in the top division. So I'm not worried about this technicality. And I say that Ura remains at Maegashira 4 West due to his joy bias. I'm very tentative on that ranking. I feel like there is a very good shot that Keen Bozan, I think, could jump ahead and take this spot more than Ichi Yamamoto would. So I'm not sure on this one, but I am going with Ura here.
Sure. Yeah, if there is any sort of playoff or what have you bias, this is a situation where that could come into play. But
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it could also be a situation where he went 7 and 8, like he was in the joy, but we want to make sure he gets knocked down a little bit. There's other people that deserve the same rank, so we'll knock you down. It could easily happen, or he might stay because joy bias. We'll find out.
That's one. When we get to the end of the episode and you ask me where I think you got it wrong, this is a situation where it's like there's a high probability that it is a tiny bit wrong.
Yeah,
you know, exactly. Nothing crazy is happening, but there's a decent chance that, like, you know, 3 guys are out of order or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So Maegashira 5, we just have Keen Bozan and Ichi Yamamoto to work through at this point. There is a part of me, so Hira de Umi went 7 and 8 from Maegashira 5 East. There is a part of me that wants to consider leaving Hira de Umi here because he could be considered part of the joy after Teruto Fuji's retirement.
Oh, sure.
He had 4 Sanyaku matchups, but I honestly think that'd be kind of pushing joy bias a little bit too much here. He deserves to be 1 rank behind these guys. He had a losing record. But I'm just saying, that thought did enter my mind. I think it's a stupid one, and I'm hoping it's a stupid one, but it's not completely outside the realm of possibility.
Sure.
But I'm going to have, pretty simply, Keen Bozan. He had more wins than Ichi Yamamoto. They're otherwise tied. So I have Keen Bozan rising up 9 ranks to Maegashira 5 East after his 12 and 3 record. And then I have Ichi Yamamoto rising 1 rank to Maegashira 5 West after his 8 and 7 record.
Recently crowned Tostitos Hatred national champion by Mac in our recap.
Yep. Mac's least favorite Rikishi of all time, Ichi Yamamoto.
At least for the year.
Yes.
He's going to try out Hatred for a year, and we'll see if it sticks.
Yeah. I have my doubts.
Yep, me too. I'm guessing if Ichi Yamamoto does one funny thing or gets 9 wins or more in this next Basho, Mac will immediately just turn around 180 degrees.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to Maegashira 6. We've got 2 Rikishi that deserve this rank. Hira de Umi, who has tenuous joy bias at best on his side, and Takeru Fuji, who has absolutely no joy bias on his side. But lurking right behind them, we do have 2 Rikishi that will have joy bias on their side. Shodai, who went 6 and 9 from Maegashira 4, and Atami Fuji, who went 5 and 10 from Maegashira 2. Both of them deserve to be Maegashira 7, 1 rank behind our 2 guys that deserve to be Maegashira 6. So I could just put Shodai and Atami Fuji ahead of both Hira Umi and Takeru Fuji. It would go right in line with some of the stuff that we saw on the previous Banzuke, or a couple previous Banzukes. But I'm going to use my rarely used proximity theory to keep Hira Umi ahead of Shodai here. It's not a rule. It's not a proven theory by any means. It's just kind of like, it would seem wrong if Shodai, who went 6-9 at Maegashira 4, went ahead of Hira Umi, who went 7-8 from Maegashira 5. It would feel wrong that two guys that close with that record combination, like if this were Maegashira 12-13, every single time, 10 times out of 10, Shodai behind Hira Umi. So I feel like that's just visually, it would be wrong. It just wouldn't make sense to have those two guys that close with those records, not flip-flop in the order that they are in the Banzuke.
I appreciate how that thought started with, it sounded like you were going to describe like some sort of quantum string theory of Banzuke science.
You throw theory on anything and it sounds super mathematical and technical.
But by the end, you use the phrase, visually it wouldn't look right.
Yeah.
So like I see, it's the quantum theory of vibes.
Exactly. I was just about to say it's more vibe based than anything, and that wouldn't pass the vibe check for me.
Yes, the sniff test.
Yeah. So if I'm going to declare Shodai can't go ahead of Hira Umi, well, since Shodai deserves to be ahead of Atami Fuji based on East Side bias and number of wins, if we keep Shodai behind Hira Umi, then Atami Fuji really also needs to be behind Hira Umi so that he doesn't end up ahead of Shodai, who by every other metric deserves to be ahead of him. So I have Hira Umi dropping one rank after a 7-8 record to Maegashira 6 East. But I don't see Takeru Fuji getting off as easy as I have Hira Umi do. I think Joy Bias will bite Takeru Fuji a little bit here. So I've got Shodai dropping 2 ranks to Maegashira 6 West after a 6-9 record, going ahead of Takeru Fuji due to Joy Bias.
I'm not sure I followed that entirely. But well, I think... Go ahead.
It's when you're just looking at Shodai versus Takeru Fuji, Shodai deserves to be 1 rank behind Takeru Fuji, but Shodai was in the Joy, so I'm giving him bias to go ahead of Takeru Fuji.
Yeah, okay.
When you're looking at those two, that's pretty simple. We could do the same thing for Hira Umi, but here's the thing. Another factor that why I didn't do it, if we put like Shodai and Atami Fuji ahead of Hira Umi, then we would over demote Hira Umi after a 7-8 record. We demote him 2 spots after a 7-8 record, which happened inexplicably on the last Banzuke a couple of times where 7-8 guys dropped 2 spots, but I'm not going to make a habit of that in my prediction. So going to try to avoid that. It just doesn't feel right to drop Hira Umi more than that in this spot. But it does feel right to deny Takeru Fuji a further rise up the Banzuke.
That part I get. I guess it's too many different tiebreakers trying to hold them in my head at the same time. But I get each individual piece.
It's fair. You haven't been blessed by the Banzuke gods to open your mind to all these rules. Yeah, it takes time to.
I'm not the Banzuke wizard. I'm the Renfield or the Igor. I'm Banzuke Igor. So yes, I probably know more about Banzukes than the average hunchback. But like, I'm still only picking up what you're dropping off of the science table.
Absolutely.
I'm picturing you having like lightning, like steampunk lightning stuff all hooked up, and it's just a sheet of paper with names on it.
Yeah, just a spreadsheet. Absolutely.
You're right. It's just a cute little laptop just hooked up to lots of Tesla coils and like a ball with like rings below it that are in a cone shape, because that's in every Frankenstein lab for sure.
That's how you get the electricity to where you need it to go.
That's the science. Yeah, it's the electricity probe.
Yeah, it's the electricity pointer.
Yeah. Okay.
So moving down to Maegashira 7, I'm going to have Atami Fuji getting some joy bias as well ahead of Takeru Fuji. So I've got him dropping a full 5 ranks out of the joy, which does make me a little bit nervous for Atami Fuji. It's not often you see a joy Rikishi get the full expected demotion. He had a 5-10 record. 5 minus 10 is -5. So we expect him to drop drop 5 ranks. But Joy Rikishi, with 5 and 10, he might expect to see drop 3 or 4. So I am a little nervous with giving Atami Fuji a full 5 rank demotion, but I'm going to stick with my guns. Got him landing at Maegashira 7 East. And now we're pretty free and clear for the next little while. All dropping Sanyaku Rikishi have been placed. Atami Fuji was our last, or Sanyaku, yeah, we placed them a long time ago. And all dropping Joy Rikishi have been placed with Atami Fuji. So there's no more Joy or Sanyaku biases to worry about until we get down to the Juryo Rikishi and trying to dick them over. So for a good little while...
Like, other than Kin Bozan, this looks like 2 completely separate Banzukes. There's just a top half and a bottom half, and there's very little interchange between them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just got regular tiebreakers to go over for a while. So I've got Takeru Fuji rising 4 ranks to Maegashira 7 West after a 10-5 record. I do think there's also a chance maybe Takeru Fuji can go up a little bit higher here. He did have a couple Sanyaku matches as he was in the Yusho race late into this. That could play a factor in pulling him up a little bit further and maybe pushing down Shodai Atami Fuji a little bit more. But that's not how I'm predicting it to go. But it could go that way. Then at Maegashira 8, Tamawashi is the next Rikishi that deserves to be placed after he had a 9-6 record at Maegashira 10. He deserves Maegashira 7 alongside Shodai and Atami Fuji, but there's no way in hell he's going ahead of either of those 2 guys. We ran out of room for him, so he's only going to get a 2-rank promotion to Maegashira 8 East. And then after that, there's only one more Rikishi that deserves the Maegashira 8 rank, and that is Oshoma, who went 8-7 from Maegashira 9, so he will easily take the Maegashira 8 West ranking. Then when we get to Maegashira 9, there are no more Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 9. So we need to look to the Maegashira 10 rank, where there are 2 Rikishi waiting to be ranked, Haku Oho and Endo. Both of them were on the east side, so I'm going to look to the Rikishi that had more wins, which would be the 10-5 Haku Oho, who I have rising 6 ranks to Maegashira 9 East. Then that leaves Endo to drop 2 ranks following a 6-9 record to Maegashira 9 West. Then we get to our double-digit Maegashira ranks, and we have to decide which order we're going to place the 2 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 11 at the Maegashira 10 ranks. And this is even easier than it was before, because one of the Rikishi that deserves to be Maegashira 11 is Juryo Promotee Shishi. So we're going to ignore him until all of our winning Makuuchi Rikishi have been placed. That means Nishikigi's our only Makuuchi Rikishi that deserves to be Maegashira 11, which means he's the top-ranked guy the guy that deserves to be ranked the highest at this point. So I've got him rising 2 ranks to Maegashira 10 East after an 8-7 record.
I misread Nishiki Fuji at 17 East as Nishikigi, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He doesn't deserve to go nearly that high.
You are learning, Banzuke Igor. Good job.
Thank you, Master.
Now we just need to get you to learn to read the names properly, and you'll be well on your way to making your own Banzuke.
I am more than 0 literate.
Can we get you clipped of saying thank you, Master, and can you just send that to me?
See, the reason that I have the fun stuff to play is because I put in the work to get the fun stuff. By all means, if you want to edit this episode and you want to cut that clip and save it, nobody's stopping you.
I do not.
I figured. So, I'm safe again.
Maegashira 10 West. We're going to ignore Shishi for now next little while, since we're ignoring Shishi, we need to look to the Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 12 to fill this spot, which once again gives us a pool of 2 Rikishi, but only 1 viable option. Midori Fuji and Shonan no Umi are the next 2 eligible Rikishi, but Midori Fuji would be promoted if we put him at this rank. So by default, I have Shonan no Umi rising 3 ranks to Maegashira 10 West after an 8-7 record from Maegashira 13. How quickly the Banzuke can shift. It was just at Maegashira 8 that we had to under-promote Tamawashi because there wasn't enough room. And 2 ranks later, we're having to dredge people up from 2 ranks below the rank that we're putting them at to over-promote Shonan no Umi by 2 ranks. We've had a 3-rank flip in that in just the course of 2 ranks.
Yeah, well, just like I mentioned before, this is Banzuke number 2. The bottom half Banzuke, and it gets crowded at the top. It does. There's a ceiling that you have to bust through, and Tamawashi didn't quite do that. But yeah, now we're filling out Joy 2, and things can get a little bit wonky in the upper Maegashira ranks.
That's true. There are a lot of
the
jams.
lower Maegashira ranks.
Right. Yes.
The upper lowers. Yeah.
Maegashira 11. We get to the rank that Midori Fuji currently holds, Maegashira 11 East. We still have one more Makuuchi with a Rikishi with a winning record to place. That is the aforementioned Nishiki Fuji. So we still can't consider Shishi, or we could, we just won't. And Midori Fuji deserves to be 1 rank ahead of any other top division Rikishi. So I have him keeping his previous rank of Maegashira 11 East following his 7 and 8 record. And then for Maegashira 11 West, we need to look to a group of 3 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 13, Takara Fuji, Meisei, and Onokatsu, all having had losing records and dropping down the Banzuke.
Oh, dear.
We can't choose Onokatsu because, once again, promotion for a losing record. So both Takara Fuji and Meisei were previously on the West side. So I've got to default to who had more wins to figure out who to go at Maegashira 11 West. And Meisei had 6 to Takara Fuji's 5. So I've got Meisei dropping only 1 rank following a 6-9 record to Maegashira 11 West. Then I have Takara Fuji dropping 4 ranks to Maegashira 12 East after his 5-10 record. And then we get to the rank that Onokatsu held in January at Maegashira 12 West, where he had a 7-8 record.
So he's back on the table.
Still haven't unlocked Shishi because we haven't put Nishiki Fuji on the board yet. And Onokatsu deserves to be 1 rank higher than Nishiki Fuji. So I'm going to have Onokatsu keep his previous rank as well at Maegashira 12 West.
For context here, where was Shishi? What rank was he?
Juryo 4 with a 13-2 record.
Juryo 4, gotcha. So even getting into the top division at all is still going to be a chunk of a promotion, even if it's less than he deserves. Okay.
Yep.
Because, we've even seen guys get really good records from Juryo 1, Juryo 2, and even then they very rarely go higher than like Maegashira 14 or so.
13, 14's been the highest we've seen in a good long while.
Yeah.
So we get to Maegashira 13, and we've finally gotten to the point where Nishiki Fuji is the next Rikishi that deserves to be ranked, and there's really no one that can compete for him at this spot, except for Onokatsu if the Banzuke committee decides they want to drop him a rank. So maybe switch Nishiki Fuji and Onokatsu here. But I have Nishiki Fuji rising 4 ranks following a 9-6 record up to the Maegashira 13 East spot. So after first bringing up his name when we were talking about the Maegashira 10 rank, we're finally free and clear to open up the top division to any Juryo promotees, and we're going to bring Shishi back into the top division. He is 3 ranks clear of the next Rikishi that deserves to be ranked, both of whom are Juryo promotees, so he's definitely going ahead of them. And he is 5 ranks clear of the next Makuuchi Rikishi that deserves to be ranked. So I've got,
maybe we put him here, you think?
That's where I'm going to go. It's tentative at best. We'll see.
Man, I am learning this. This is easy.
After somebody just lays out all of the math for you and already places 2/3 of the division.
Yeah. And after getting 1-hour seminars twice every 2 months for 5 years now, I would think that I should be doing okay.
Yep. So we've got Shishi rising from Juryo 4 to Maegashira 13 West after that 13-2 performance. Then the next two Rikishi to be placed are going to be Ryuden and Aonishiki in that order. Both deserve to be the same rank, but Ryuden was on the east side down in Juryo while Aonishiki was on the west side. So I've got Ryuden rising 6 ranks to Maegashira 14 East after his 11-4 record, and Aonishiki rising 8 ranks to Maegashira 14 West after his 12-3 record. Both of these guys deserve to be 2 ranks higher than the next Makuuchi Rikishi, so feel pretty comfortable putting them at this spot.
We'll talk about him in the preview for sure, but very psyched to see Aonishiki in the top division.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's on the level of like an Onosato Takeru Fuji prospect, but he's up there.
He will be in the top division just as fast as Takeru Fuji.
That's a good point, because he's still super young. Right?
Yeah, he's 20. He might be 21.
Yeah, we did just talk about that. Didn't we talk about that on a recent episode? Because, he looks like he's got miles on him for a 20-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. He looks way older than 20, but 20 is what they say, and that's all we can go off of.
The official documentation says 20, as far as we are aware.
Yes. So things get a little bit tricky at Maegashira 15. I've been able to ignore something because like Shishi, Ryuden, and Aonishiki deserve to be so much further ahead than any other Makuuchi Rikishi. But now we need to decide between some Juryo and Makuuchi Rikishi that deserve close to the same rank. But the number of ranks at the bottom of the division has changed from 17 to 18 in the March Banzuke. Because our Sanyaku ranks are shrinking by 1 from 8 to 7, the Banzuke is going to extend from Maegashira 17 West. Now it's going to go down to Maegashira 18 East. So if we look at a Rikishi like Sada Naomi, who went 9-6 from Juryo 1, he deserves a 3-rank promotion. Where that 3-rank promotion takes him is different based on how you look at the Banzuke. If you're looking at the January Banzuke, which went down to Maegashira 17, then Sada Naomi would deserve to be ranked Maegashira 15 on the next Banzuke. But if you're looking at Banzuke that's going to have 18 Maegashira ranks like it does in March, then Sada Naomi would deserve to be ranked Maegashira 16 on the next Banzuke. Now let's look at Chura Naomi. Doesn't matter what the bottom rank in the top division is. His 4-11 record from Maegashira 9 will always make him deserving of the Maegashira 16 rank. So, does Sada Naomi deserve to be 1 rank ahead of Chura Naomi? Or does he deserve to be the same rank as Chura Naomi?
My God.
So, for me, the best way that I found to evaluate this is got to base it on how they compare to each other based on the Banzuke we had in January with a bottom rank of Maegashira 17. We need to know how they compare based on the January results, not looking forward to what the next Banzuke is going to look like. Just based on the results of this Banzuke, does Sada Naomi deserve to be ahead of Chura Naomi? So even though we're placing the Rikishi on a Banzuke that's going down to Maegashira 18, when determining how many ranks up a Juryo Rikishi deserves to go, I'm going to base it based on the Maegashira 17 Banzuke, because that's what we had in January. If you look just at the results in January, Sada Naomi deserves to be 1 rank ahead of Chura Naomi.
I hate that. I understand your reasoning, and I hate it.
Yes. So that's how I'm going to be looking at this.
Sure.
So because if I chose to base Sada Naomi deserving a promotion based on the Maegashira 18 Banzuke, him and Chura Naomi both deserve to be the same rank, and I would likely side with the Makuuchi Rikishi and place him higher on the next Banzuke, so I would have Chura Naomi ahead of Sada Naomi. But if we look at how they compare based on this Maegashira 17 Banzuke that we had in January, Sada Naomi deserves to be 1 rank ahead of Chura Naomi. We have seen that deserving to be 1 rank ahead of a Makuuchi Rikishi is enough for a Juryo Rikishi to go ahead of the Makuuchi Rikishi. So because of that, I have Sada Naomi rising 3 or 4 ranks, depending on how you're looking at it, to Maegashira 15 East after a 9-6 record from Juryo 1. Then the next rank should easily be Choda no Umi's. Based on how I'm looking at Juryo Rikshi for this Banzuke, Choda no Umi and Juryo Promoti Asa Koryu both deserve the same rank, but I'm going to go with the Makuuchi Rikshi over the Juryo Rikshi when they are the same rank. And besides, Choda no Umi would have east side bias anyways. So I've got Choda no Umi dropping 6 ranks after a 4-11 record to Maegashira 15 West. Did you follow all of that, Banzuke Igor?
Yep. Sure did. This is like a mathematician friend describing like a hypercube to me, and it's like you started with a cube, and I'm good with that.
And then you said one more word, and I was immediately lost. And I don't want any more description. I've never even heard of a hypercube, so I'm just going to assume it's something way beyond my understanding, and I don't even want to know.
In short, you know how like when you go from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions, the formulas you use for math get like 1 layer more complicated?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you can't physically have a 4-dimensional cube in our understanding of it, you just take those same equations and go 1 level more complicated in the same fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly math, and then suddenly I'm being awakened. Somebody's fanning my face, like asking if I need water. Yeah.
Got it.
But it's like, I understand the concepts here. I get it. It's just, it's a lot.
Hurts your brain.
It's a lot. But yes, it's so weird to me how the rankings don't match up with your actual rank. You know, like the way that who was it? Got technically he's ahead of more people than he used to be. Oh, Ura. It was Ura that we were talking about. He's ahead of more people than he used to be, but his rank is unchanged. And it's like, no, but it isn't though. Like, come on.
Yeah. And maybe that kind of reasoning, like leaving the 7 and 8 Rikshi, we know that that's happened in the past when we have seen the top division expand by a rank or 2. And so maybe like, well, they didn't care then, so why would they care about this little detail? So maybe I'm looking at it wrong. We'll see how it turns out.
I'm sure you're not overthinking it at all.
No, that's never happened on this before.
No.
All right. Maegashira 16. The way I'm looking at it, Asakoryu is 2 ranks clear of any other Rikshi. And if I was looking at it the other way, he'd be 1 rank clear of any other Rikshi. I think really the only place that this came into play is the Maegashira 15 rank and the Maegashira 18 rank. So it's not affecting too much of the bottom of the Banzuke, but it does affect a couple of the spots.
Yeah, I imagine Toki Hayate might get a demotion, but still be 42 out of 42. We'll see what happens when we get there. But like, that has been bugging me a little bit. Does it still count as a demotion if he's exactly the same? So, all right, whatever. 16 East though is where we're at.
Yep, and I've got Asakoryu going there, jumping up after a 9-6 record from Juryo 2. And then we are now at a point where we have 4 spots left in the top division, and we also have 4 Rikshi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 18 or Juryo 1, whichever Banzuke you want to look at. 3 of those are in the top division currently, and 1 would be a Juryo Promoti. So I'm going to place that Juryo Promoti last in this group. And then if we're ignoring them, we just need to sort out the order of Mitake Yumi, Koto Shoho, and Toki Hayate. Toki Hayate is eliminated from consideration because he would be receiving a promotion after a losing record. That leaves Koto Shoho and Mitake Yumi. Both were on the west side of the Banzuke, so as always, I'm going to default to the Rikshi with more wins, and that is Koto Shoho dropping 3 ranks after a 5-10 record to Maegashira 16 West. At Maegashira 17 East, Toki Hayate is still unavailable, so that just leaves Mitake Yumi to fall 10 ranks after a 2-13 record to Maegashira 17 East. And then I'm still mad about Nishiki Fuji keeping his rank after a 6-9 record at the bottom of the Banzuke back in September. So once again, if he can do that, then anything's possible. There's a Juryo Rikshi tied with Toki Hayate for who deserves this spot, but I don't care. Toki Hayate was in the top division, so I have Toki Hayate keeping his rank at Maegashira 17 West after a 7-8 record. Then at Maegashira
rank as he gets promoted. Unbelievable.
And then at the new, I could be completely wrong. He could be dropping. We don't know. And then at our brand spanking new Maegashira 18 East rank, I'm going to have Shirokuma rising 4 ranks to take this spot after a 9-6 record from Juryo 4. This really only works with my interpretation of how to place these Juryo Rikishi. If I'm wrong and I needed to base how many ranks they're being promoted on a Banzuke with 18 Maegashira ranks, then Shirokuma would deserve the same rank as Makuuchi Rikishi Tama Shoho. And in that case, I would keep Tama Shoho in the top division instead of sending him to Juryo. But the way I'm looking at it, Shirokuma deserves to be 1 rank ahead of Tama Shoho. So that is why I have Shirokuma taking the bottom Maegashira rank in the top division and sending Tama Shoho back down to Juryo after a 1 Basho stint at the top. So the Maegashira 4 through 7, that's a big trouble spot. And kind of just like Maegashira 4 and 5, how are those 2 ranks going to play out between each other? And then Maegashira 6 and 7, how are those 2 ranks going to play out between each other? And then just how are we going to deal with these Juryo promotees? How are you supposed to look at it when the division ranks expand or contract? So hopefully we'll get definitive answers when this Banzuke is released on Monday, February 24th. So in my prediction, I had 6 Rikishi promoted up to the top division from Juryo. This is a heavy turnover Banzuke. It's going to be 5 or 6.
There's one freebie, obviously, because we have a retirement.
Yep, Terano Fuji's retirement opens up a spot.
But even having five interchange is still on the heavy end for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So the 5 Rikishi that I have being demoted, Roga, who went 0 and 15 from, where was he? Maegashira 8. Hokuto Fuji, 0 and 15 from Maegashira 14. Kita Nowaka, 4 and 11 from Maegashira 15, Kagayaki 6 and 9 from Maegashira 16, and Tama Shoho also 6 and 9 from Maegashira 16. Kagayaki is definitely going down, I feel like, because this bottom spot's going to come down to Toki Hayate, Tama Shoho, Shirokuma. One of those 3 guys will have the bottom spot. One of those will have the Maegashira 17 West spot, and then the other one will be Juryo 1, but Kagayaki being on the west side compared to Tama Shoho's east side and deserving to be a rank below Toki Hayate, I think Kagayaki loses all of those situations and goes down to Juryo.
Like he mathematically has to go behind Tama Shoho because he was already ranked below him and they had the same rank. Same record.
Proximity theory with him and Toki Hayate. He had a 6 and 9 record compared to Toki Hayate's 7 and 8, just below him. Theory. You've got to drop him below him. That'd
proximity theory. It's vibes. It's vibes.
Sorry, the proximity vibes. We'll change it. It's the proximity vibes.
You don't mean that in the scientific definition of theory. You mean it in the colloquial version of theory.
Yes. Still just as applicable.
That's right. We use bigger words on here to sound like we actually have data behind everything.
No, this one, absolutely no data. So I feel like, Jake, there's no reason to ask you, what do you think I got wrong? It's one of those things I already laid out. But for the most part, unless the Banzuke committee goes crazy, which they are very want to do recently, I feel like this lays out pretty well, even beyond the spots that I talked about. Mm-hmm. Maybe they are a dick to Abi and he got a 7 and 8 record from Komusubi and they're like, no, you don't deserve to be Komusubi anymore. And then you got to like bring up somebody like Gono Yama. That could really throw off the start of my prediction. Oho Kirishima, you could easily switch those guys. But a lot of it just really kind of falls into place, which makes me wonder, where are they just going to do something dumb for the sake of being dumb?
There'll be something dumb like Kinbozan. It's always the big jumpers that are potentially the ones that mess
Komusubi Kinbozan.
Right. Like if he gets over promoted, that pushes everybody else, just chunks them down by 1 and hurts your prediction that way. Or for example, Mitakayumi going 2 and 13. That's another one that's a big potential drop. So like what if they slightly bias him instead of the what if they have bias in favor of him over one of the Juryo guys or something like that? Like those are the things that I often see as like the volatility that can mess up the whole area around where that Rikishi lands on the list.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I absolutely agree. It's those specific spots, and at least a couple of them, you're just gonna have two guys switched or whatever. But like,
yep.
I really don't think there's very much room for big errors unless there's something completely stupid.
And I feel a lot better about this Banzuke than I did the previous one. I'm not gonna start swearing the second we stop recording. We didn't find any major errors that I had made as we were talking through this. I spent my time. I made my big outline for it this time. I didn't skip that step, which turns out pretty necessary. Also, when I was doing this outline, that is when I started thinking about the bottom of the division and how much the Juryo Rikishi should be promoted compared to the other Rikishi. So we'll see if that extra thought helps or hurts me in the end on this Banzuke. But my first two drafts, I had them moving up based on a 18 Maegashira Banzuke as opposed to a 17 Maegashira Banzuke. We'll see how that plays out. So this episode's coming out around noon on February 18th, right after the Guess the Banzuke deadline has closed. So we're just 1 week away from the Banzuke being released. It is going to be released a day later than usual. I believe there's a Japanese holiday, so it's not going to be released on Sunday in the United States. It's going to be released on Monday, February 24th. So the Banzuke is going to be coming out 1 day later than it usually will. We'll have our review of the Banzuke shortly after that, and then just a week after that, we're going to have the preview for the Haru Basho, Hoshoryu's first Basho as Yokozuna. So that'll be a very fun one to prepare for, and be very interesting to see how it goes, how Hoshoryu handles his new role.
Yeah, that's obviously going to be the headline for that one. But yeah, we're recording this well ahead of time, but as we mentioned, we release it after the Guess the Banzuke deadline has passed. So now that is over, you are able to listen to it now. But we're recording this well back into early February, where the Hoshoryu stuff is all new. So yeah, there very well could be more developments for us to talk about, but we'll probably cover that in our February news update if that's not already out by the time you're hearing this.
Yeah, it should be.
Should be. Thanks for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time, throw your salt high and keep moving forward. That time I legit forgot.
I didn't.